Hello there, greetings everybody. It's monster time here on the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Starting a new series tonight. I'm actually going to be starting two series on this Thursday nights, but the first one will be tonight, and this is called The Downside. So, with The Downside, what we're doing is we're talking about bands that were soaring, doing very well. Maybe they've peaked with a top album, and then they started down that road of obscurity, or maybe not so much obscurity, but troubled times. And for this band, definitely that occurred. This is Kiss Dynasty. I don't necessarily think it started on this album. It was kind of waning a bit. They had reached a pinnacle very few bands reach back in the mid 70s. Once they got from 75 to about 77, they were like on top of the world as far as rock bands go. Primarily because of their stage show and their antics and the sound of their music, but also the number of albums they put out. They produced a lot of albums. They were everywhere, bigger with a younger crowd, people in the teens and early preteen era, but definitely had a huge impact on those people. And then they started getting, like so many bands do, egos taken over, fighting, all kinds of stuff like that. And by the time we got to about 1978, when they did the four solo albums, they had peaked. I think they probably peaked with Destroyer, but they stayed at a top for a while and then started slowly to slide, but they really kicked themselves down when they got to this album. Not that this album didn't do good. I think this album actually did quite good, and I think it holds up very well now, but back then a lot of Kiss fans were very upset seeing them as selling out to disco, seeing them as becoming commercial monkeys, all that kind of stuff, and didn't like it. And then they kicked Peter out of the band, which really took a negative turn for them. Their next couple of albums, couple of three albums after that, Unmasked, didn't do as well as this. Kind of a similar style, but maybe not as good a selection of tracks. The next album after that, they tried to do the prog thing and do their own concept album, shortened their hair and everything. Didn't go very well again, even actually went even further down. Some people actually think that's a masterpiece now, but I'm not one of them. And then they just they kicked Ace. Well, Ace left the band. They kind of tried to hide that. It's becoming clear that a lot of stuff were being hidden. And they come out with Creatures of the Night, which actually kind of turned it up a little bit. They started going back up. But for me, it was kind of over, and I think for a lot of Kiss fans, it was kind of over. There are those, of course, those diehard fans that who love their bands, whoever the band is, and the band can do no wrong. It wouldn't matter if they put out a record of Mother Goose's Fables, they would still love it. So that's just the way it is with some people and their bands. I'm not so much like that, but clearly this was the down period for Kiss. They actually did come back up and do quite well in the late 80s and 90s for themselves. And they've stayed with a kind of nostalgic, kind of iconic continuance of their music, although, really they've been basically a cover band for the past 20 years or so before they finally hung it up recently. But that's my first show for The Downside, which featured the beginning of Kiss's fall. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of insight into Kiss and the type of things that went on with them and how they're peaked and then fell off. And this, of course, we will do with another band in the future. But for today, it was Kiss. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. If you want to make any comments about the Kiss trajectory or about the album Dynasty or about Kiss or about anybody in the band or anything you want to say, you can do that in the comment section below. And we will be back next week with the beginning of the next episode, the one that will be bi-weekly with this, so they'll alternate. This one will be called, sorry, I need my glasses to read my handwriting. This will be top of the charts. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be picking an album, or not, I'll be picking a year at a time slot in any particular year and talking about the albums that were at the top of the charts at that point in time and why they might be and how impactful they were on both the music industry and the particular bands and albums that we're talking about for that show. So that will be next week on Thursday night. Hope to see you all then. Have yourself a good evening. Good night. Here from Prog Monster. Take care and goodbye.